Good day and welcome to Zigmatech Consults Limited Learning Hub, where your learning is made easier and you have the best learning. So we are dealing with government today, and our topic today on government is Constitution. By the end of this lesson, you will know the meaning of Constitution, the functions of Constitution, sources of this Constitution, types of constitutions we have, and also functions of this Constitution. Now, to be able to tackle this, first of all, what is Constitution? Constitution is defined as a laid down rules and regulation, a set of rules and regulations which govern or guides a nation. Definitely, in dealing with human beings, you can't rule without regulations guiding them. Now, we are going to deal with sources of this Constitution. How did these constitutions, where did they get the constitutions we have? Now, the very first source of Constitution is history of the people. History of the people, which I like to talk about, is more like our past. Definitely, in order for the future to move, we need to understand the past. Now, Constitution is also derived from the history of the people. Another source of Constitution is Acts of Parliament. When you talk about Acts of Parliament, you're talking about the legislative arm, the decrees and mandates and the rules made by the legislative arm of government. Another source of Constitution is customs and traditions. Our customs and tradition, definitely the do's and don'ts of the people. What are your people? What are their customs and traditions like? Are you dealing with while dealing with them, what are their customs and traditions? What are the do's and the don'ts? What do you think that is acceptable to them? Another source of our Constitution is past constitutions, the past constitutions, which can be derived from the past constitutions of other countries or from your own country. If you want to make amendments or draft a new constitution, you can actually take from the past constitutions of your country or also pick from the past constitutions of other countries, which definitely worked for them. Another source of Constitution is judicial precedents, which has to do with rules of the past decisions of the judiciary. Now, another source and the last source is conventions. Conventions are acts that are turned into rules for us. Now, we are going to talk about types of Constitution. Now, we have 4 major types of Constitution. We are going to deal with them one after the other. The first type of Constitution we're going to talk about is the written Constitution. Now, when a Constitution is written, this is when you talk about written Constitution, we are talking about the laid down rules and regulations of a country, which is documented in a single file or a document or written down in a single document. Another type of Constitution we have is unwritten. And as the name implies, the Constitution is not written in a single document, but it is known by everybody as a constitution. Then the third type of constitution we have is rigid. When you talk about rigidity of a constitution or its flexibility, we are talking about the mode or method of amendment. Now, rigid constitution is a type of constitution that is difficult to amend. It has a rigorous process of amendment, while flexible constitution is a type of constitution that is very easy to amend. It's just like making the regular laws. While for rigid constitution, it is difficult to amend. Not that it is not amendable, but its process is rigorous. Now, we are moving over to the features of a constitution. When you talk about features, we talk about characteristics. What makes up a constitution? The very first thing that makes up a constitution is its preamble. Every constitution has its preamble. Like in Nigeria, we the citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Preamble is more like an oath taken to agree and go ahead with this constitution. Another feature of a constitution is political structure. Every constitution must talk about its political structure. Are they practicing federal system of government or unitary system of government? It must address the system of government which they are practicing or which is acceptable to them. Now, another feature of the Constitution is the Political institutions. What are the political institutions we have? We have the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. The political institutions and how they relate. This is another major feature of a constitution. Another feature we have is the party system. Every constitution will state if they are practicing a one system, a one-party system, a two-party system, or a multi-party system. Every constitution must give you details of how its government operates. Another feature of a constitution is the type of administrative system. What are the administrative structure? Is it the presidential? Is it the parliamentary? Is it the unitary system? Is their power centered or is the power shared? Now, it also must contain the fundamental human rights of the people. Definitely, a constitution must have the rules and the fundamental human rights of the people entrenched in them. What are the process of amendments? How can we amend the constitution? If there is any need to amend, a constitution must have its method or modes of amendment, and through that you know if it's rigid or flexible. Another feature of a constitution is tenure of office of a government. It will state how many years make up a tenure. And for example, in Nigeria, we have 4 years make up a tenure of government, and a position can only be handled twice, which is 2 tenures. Nobody is allowed to handle more than 2 tenures. A constitution must state that each country has the way and the system whereby they operate. So the constitution of every country must state its tenure of office, and then citizenship. It must state the citizenship of its country, the basic qualifications of this citizenship, what are the qualifications for you to become their citizens, and what can you do, and your citizenship will be taken away. Then it must also take how political leaders are elected. Like in Nigeria, normally we do our representative system, we practice our election, and we practice our election whereby we elect representatives who go goes there for us at the legislative arm. Now we move over to the functions of the constitution. We have so many functions of constitution, and we are going to go now. What does this constitution do for us? What are the needs? Why did we enact this constitution? Why is it documented? What are the functions of this constitution? Now, the very first function of a constitution is one. Constitution defines and limits government powers. When you talk about defining and limiting government power, a constitution will state the do's and the don'ts. What are the governments allowed to do? What are they not allowed to do? Where do their powers limit? So the constitution will tell you the limits to which you will know when your rights have been trampled upon, and where the government has gone, and it also helps to reduce dictatorship. Definitely, we practice during constitution, or if you know your constitution well, you know when a government is turning into a tyrant system or a dictated system. Now, also, constitution establishes the basic rights of the people that governments cannot infringe upon. The constitution will tell you what are these your rights, the ones that governments can infringe upon, and the ones which governments can't infringe upon. Constitution entails the structures, rules, operating procedures of government. Constitution will let you know the operating procedures of government. It serves as a supreme and fundamental law of the nation and the state. Now, a constitution is the supreme authority in every nation. Both the government, both the ruled and those ruling are meant to go with the dictates and the doctrines of the constitution. Another function of the constitution is that it acts as a check in maladministration and misuse of power. Constitution will let you know when the governments are misusing their powers, when the governments are turning into tyrants, when the governments are abusing their powers, when the governments are not doing the right thing. Now, the constitution will let you know on that. Another function of the constitution is that it upholds the sovereignty of a nation. Definitely, for you to become a nation or for you to become sovereign, you must have your constitution. You must have your laid down rules and regulations for your people. Now, acceptable constitution in Nigeria is not so acceptable in US. So that is why every nation has its own rules and regulations which is operated in their country. Another function is It provides for the independence of each organ. Now, the Constitution will state where each organ's functions and limits are. For example, the executive, it will let you know about the powers of the executive and where their limits are. It will let you know about the legislature, their powers, and also it will also enlighten you more on the separation of powers and how each arm of government checkmate each other. The Constitution also directs the states in making legislation. The Constitution, even if there is a new law to be enacted, the Constitution gives the directions on how those laws are to be enacted. Even the processes of passing a bill into law, the Constitution states clearly all that. Now, last but not the least, it provides for judicial review in case of legislative violation. Now, when these legislations are being violated, the Constitution is there to be reviewed in case if there is any violation of the Constitution. Thank you, and I'll see you for the next lesson on the next topic.